You've been smiling. I mean, let's recognize the other big five. Okay. Is that a problem?
I'm still struggling to recall. That's why I was quiet and smiling. I was taking my memory back to primary, to JHS, to secondary school, where the names of the other 5 people were eliminated from history. I'm still struggling to get that narrative. As young as any Ghanaian child can be, in the social studies class, now they have the citizen, well, they've changed the whole curricula, so they have a different thing than we had. Social studies class right from primary school. They tell you there was a Big Sis, there was a UGCC, there was a CPP, and they tell you that the CPP was Akoko, as a child who schooled in Kumasi. So I am surprised this morning that as a child who schooled in Kumasi, in the old, I was trying to recall.
Okay.
That I'm remembering where they said CPP was Akoko Red, and then there was a UGCC, they were 6, and then they wanted independence within the shortest possible time, and then the man who did it for us said self-governance now. So I'm recalling how Enima is going on and about it, that we should also mention them and all that. I'm recalling where in history that their names were eliminated. They've always been celebrated. But one thing that I find amusing, that I think we are not paying too much attention to, is the fact that President Akufo-Addo and his family members are on a spree to make Ghana as if Ghana belongs to his family and Ghana is their property and should be willed to them. I say this because whenever he talks about these things, he makes particular emphasis on his father's name, particular emphasis on his uncle's name, to make it look as if Ghana belongs to his family and they're entitled to whatever happens in this country. I mean, let's think about it in this context. I am coming from I was in London, UK, and learning, doing marvelously well there. And then back in my hometown, there were issues, and then they wanted to be independent. They come to call me, I come. And then in the midst of it, I realized that they are taking us on a trajectory that will not give us the results we are looking for. That is the path that President Akufo-Addo and the NPP erased from the history. When he came, he saw that this crop of people are not taking us on the path that they called me to come and be a part of and champion.
Which he was championing
exactly.
in the UK.
That is why he came back with his own new mantra, self-governance now. We needed it now. And then through that self-governance now, we got independence. So what is the president saying? It is so, I don't know the president's notion and why he thinks that Ghana's history should be centered around his family. What the president
is saying is that when you came, there were already people who were fighting for self-government or self-governance, and they only brought you on board to, lead the fight. But maybe, I think where they went different ways is how he wanted it now and how they wanted it later.
Okay. So their later could have even been now, 2024. And we will still be here chanting.
We didn't know.
Exactly. There was no time.
So if you were not ready, you don't go for someone who was hungry to go for it now. Okay.
And so they didn't know he was that hungry.
Okay. So then that was bad judgment. Because he was championing African emancipation, not even Ghana. You understand? Yeah.
The other parts of the whole story that doesn't add up for me is how President Akufo-Addo and his other family members are quick to mention the names of their relatives as if Ghana belongs to them. And you see, if we want to talk about the heroes of independence, then my great-grandmother's name should be mentioned. Because my great-grandmother was an activist. It didn't take one individual to get up and fight. The Ashanti Kingdom were fighting the British. There was a Fanti Confederation. There was an ex-servicemen union and all of that. All of these people came together, and it took a lot of Ghanaians at the time to all say that we are fed up and rally behind them. That is how come they achieved it. So must we put the pictures and the images of all Ghanaians who are alive then on the flyers they are sharing?
No.
Because every single Ghanaian then.
No, put the caucus that led the fights.
There
was a small caucus that
every
led
single
all these
person.
confederations.
Right from the Ashantis and how they were fighting the British to gain their own personal freedoms, from the Fanti Confederation, where other tribes fought with the British so they could gain their ethnic independence and all of that. So if we are talking about the independence of Ghana, we all agree that it was a collective effort of all the citizenry then. If one person gets up and starts shouting, I want to be independent, and nobody responds, who is independent? It took everybody to come on board to become independent.
In fact, you remember when Nkrumah... Okay, you finish. I'll ask
so I would want to ask Nkrumah this morning. In 2016 till now, when they wanted to change, they say that they wanted change, free SHS, they were going everywhere shouting, saying things that were not supposed to be, that posterity has even exposed them big time. The election, I know Nkrumah contributed then. I know a couple of people who contributed for the MPP to win election in 2016. Is Nkrumah saying that according to what the president is saying, the president's thought process, every single person who fought and contributed to him becoming president in 2016 to date should also be called president? If that is the idea, then every single MPP person who went out to campaign, who contributed a penny, a dime, to make sure that the NPP became successful and won the election in 2016, for the President Akufo-Addo to be called president, those individuals should all be called presidents, because it is a collective effort. It didn't take only President Akufo-Addo to stand on the podium to say that he wants change, to say that Sidinaya Hata. It didn't take only him. There were people who were with him. Should we call all of them presidents? It cannot be so. There can always be one captain of a ship. So if Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, as he is our Sajifo or Kojia mind, he came, put everything on the line and made sure that we won. And these same people, the family members that President Akufo-Addo wants to project, he is eradicating that part of history that says that his family opposed him. They were his fierce opposition. So if today, that process and the trajectory on which Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was taking Ghana, that development path that he was putting us on, that got cut off at that instance, if everybody wants to find out why Nkrumah couldn't continue, it is because of the family members of President Akufo-Addo. In that book that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah authored before he passed away, he says a lot about how they fiercely opposed him. Most of them were alive then, and none of them could come out to counter that we didn't even do this. The same Nkrumah that they are targeting now built the Akosombo Dam. When he was building the Akosombo Dam, what the President Akufo-Addo's family members, that this morning he is telling us that he fiercely rejects that notion that there was only one founder, that he wants to put them around our necks by false founders. They said that the Akosombo Dam was too big and Nkrumah was wasting money. They didn't know that that same Kwame Nkrumah, that head, saw that in the future Ghana would develop, our population would increase, the size would increase. So he was doing that for the future, but these same people fiercely opposed him. So if Dr. Kwame Nkrumah had listened to them and their fierce opposition, as they are doing now, everything good that comes to this country that is not coming from them is bad. So they must oppose it and destroy it. Today we are here, and the same Akosombo Dam is what is giving us electricity. They talk about roads. This is the year of roads. You walk to Tema Motorway right now, you will see that the concrete roads that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah constructed that we are still using, because in his own wisdom, when he built Tema Harbour, heavy-duty trucks will ply that road. So he should make it some material that will be worth it and it can last for the nation. These people are patching it with bitumen. That's my old woman will say coal tar. These people are patching the concrete road with coal tar. The same person that he is saying is not a founder now brought us the Kotoka International Airport, which somebody that they also claim to be incompetent added Terminal 3 to it. What have they added to it? They only want to add a gate. It is an e-gate that they can give to that airport to give it a facelift. And today they say what? Kwame Nkrumah. That same Kwame Nkrumah expanded the University of Ghana that we see now, that he also wants to name after his family member. So every good thing that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah did, he wants to claim it and put it under the name of his family members to make it look as if Ghana belongs to them. But this morning, I also want to beg to differ. Mr. President, I also reject your notion that there are a lot of founders, and it is not only in Nkrumah who is to be hailed. We agree that a lot of minds came together. But if we are looking for who gave us that independence on the 6th of March 1957, it can only be one person. Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And that is settled. There is no debate about that. And we move on to our currency and how he's strategically changing everything. And you realize that the 2 Ghana cedi notes had just the image of Nkrumah. Where are those notes now? Strategically, he replaced it with a coin. So as time goes by, that note will be out of the system. And then we will only have that of the big 6. His father must by force represent. His uncle must by force represent. Every single person he said here, I don't know Enime's background, I don't know your background. But I don't think our ancestors were that evil. That when Kwame Nkrumah was fighting for independence, they were opposing him and they said that, no, we want to remain as we are. We want to be stagnant in this fight. No. Every single household here who had ancestors then, who are Ghanaians, had their roots contributing to it. So the currency, must we all have our faces on it? No. It takes one person.
But the big 6, the way we studied about the big 6, especially in schools, the big 6 is like a household caption. You can't, you can't talk about Ghana's history and leave out the big 6. So if the big 6 are found on our currency, what's wrong with it?
There's nothing wrong with it, as you put it. But there is everything wrong with it if they want to change the narrative and twist history to suit their family members. That we will not take. Their family members started UGCC, we all agree, perfecto. But as I said earlier, I want to reiterate that fact. They were taking us on a path that said within the shortest possible time. That shortest possible time could have been now. We also could have been here and our children would have still been under that captivity. And the still shortest possible time, you will still be in that shortest possible time. And then probably by now, King Charles will still be heading us. But it took Kwame Nkrumah to say self-governance now. It took Kwame Nkrumah to make us independent. It took Kwame Nkrumah to make us a republic. That holiday that they have taken away. So I don't really know what this narrative is about, trying to by force make it look as if we have not celebrated the big 6 enough. When President Kufuor was changing the currency then, the big 6 had their images on it. Yeah. Did they not? Yeah. Did anybody complain? That's a celebration. We are celebrating them enough and recognizing the fact that they contributed to the fight.
But why was Kufuor so unbothered about the whole celebration, whether it's September and all that about Nkrumah, and all of a sudden, Grace, I think you should answer that question. And all of a sudden, Nana don't have a problem with it.
No,
because he didn't champion all this. Let's change this day to that, and
let's change the names of universities to these people.
Let's change names and
President Kufuor is Kufuor. Nana Danko Kufuor is Nana.
Okay, that answers the question.
Exactly.